This is Ramna from Quality Thought Technologies. Today I'm going to start 6 hours Agile workshop. So as part of this 6 hours Agile workshop, I will be explaining you Agile Foundation training. Before I start this Agile Foundation training, I started my Agile career 10 years ago. Initially, I worked as an Agile team member. Then I moved to Scrum Master. Then I moved to Agile Capability Team Member. So I thought of being Agile Capability Team Member. So we have audited multiple Agile projects. I thought of sharing my Agile experiences with you. This 6 hours Agile training program is designed for real-time scenarios in Agile Scrum framework with a practical approach. So as part of this 6 hours, I'll be covering basic understanding of traditional approach versus Agile approach, differences between traditional software development and Agile software development, understanding of Agile manifesto and principles, introduction to Scrum framework. I'll be explaining you Scrum roles, events, Scrum artifacts, and how Agile project can be implemented in Jira tool. With this agenda, we'll be having 6 hours basic Agile program. Okay, so after this, if you attend this 6 hours Agile program, you will be gaining level, I can say, you will be gaining level 1 Agile knowledge on Agile and Scrum, and Scrum Master, Agile, different Agile roles. If you understand the basic Agile and if you are passionate towards Agile career path, I may guide you whether you are suitable for Scrum Master, Product Owner, Agile project management roles or Agile coach roles. And so I'll be giving you proper guidance on which Agile certification is suits for your career. And once you complete this training program, you will be getting Agile Foundation participation certification from Quality Thought. Okay, I'll be sharing you materials, and I will be providing access to Scrum Master interview questions once you attend all the 6 hours program. Anyway, this is a very basic details about program. Now, so I wanted to start why Agile is important. What is Agile? Let's say you have attended the interview, and the question is, what is Agile? Why Agile is important? What is Agile and why Agile is important? So, Agile is a process which explains how to deliver projects with incremental and iterative approach. Agile is a process which explains, Agile is a methodology, Agile is a manifesto which explains how to deliver projects with incremental and iterative approach. Okay, so what are the there are different approaches. As I said here, this is the point you need to understand. What is incremental and iterative approach? What is incremental and iterative approach? So in general, any software project, there are different approaches. One, sequential approach, incremental approach, iterative approach, and prototype approach. There are four different approaches to build or to deliver IT projects to customers. And Agile comes under incremental and iterative way of delivering the working software. Agile comes under incremental and iterative of delivering the working software. So what is sequential approach? So let's discuss these approaches first before I explain why we are going to Agile projects. By end of this discussion, you will be definitely learning why Agile is top 5 reasons why clients are moving to Agile. So, but if I cannot directly, I don't want to directly explain those reasons. First, I wanted to start with the concept kind of thing. So, what is so there are 4 different approaches to deliver IT projects to customers. One, sequential approach. So, what is sequential approach? All the phases of your software development life cycle, if it is happening phase by phase. Let's say you take a project, and you first you do completing the planning for entire project and get the outcome of planning phase as a project charter by your project manager. And once the project charter is ready for entire project, Then you move to analysis phase, where business analysts, business managers, they interact with the customers and they gather complete requirements for your project like BRD. So business requirement documents are ready for entire project. Then you move to design, where your solution architects or technical architects comes up with high level design. And once the design phase is complete, then it will be moved to build phase. So the where developers with the different technology layers like presentation layer, UI team, and persistence layer, database team, or application layer. So these people comes up with developing the code, and the code will be integrated. Once the entire source code development, code integration, code reviews, code compilation is done, then project will be moved to testing phase, where QA team, so they do entire testing of the project, like for all the requirements of the project, they write test cases, they write test plans, they execute the tests, they analyze the results, they report the defects, complete testing they do, and finally it goes to project deployment. So sequential approach means once a project is once a phase is 100% complete for like each phase, so it's a phase by phase development. So sequential approach. So in sequential approach projects, output of one phase flow or fall into next phase. So so there are different software development lifecycle models which follow traditional approach or sequential approach. So one is waterfall model, second one is V model. So V model stands for verification model and validation model. Either you call it as a traditional approach project, waterfall project, hybrid waterfall, V model, verification validation model. So all these projects, so they follow sequential approach to deliver the working software. So they follow sequential approach to deliver the working software. So these sequential approach projects. So these sequential approach projects, the sequential approach projects, even so people are going with the sequential approach projects also. But so sequential approach projects are sequential approach projects are well suited if all your project requirements are well defined, known requirements, and it is very short term project, and you are working with the known domain, known technology, and it's a well defined requirements you have, it's a short term project, then you can go for the sequential approach. But in reality all the parameters are not true in all the projects. So the most of the challenges which business is facing right now, number one, so every client want to deliver their software very quickly to the market. They want to win the game and they want to launch their product to the market first. So we call it as a on time to the market. We call it as a on time to the market. So so clients are looking for early software, quick delivery of working software, or on time to the market. For example, let's say you have two companies. If you say X company and Y company, both the company CEOs got the same idea, a new innovation idea, so they want to start a e-commerce app, for example, or any idea. So when they got both the same idea at the same time, but so X company followed iterative approach, Y company followed sequential approach, then definitely the company which follows iterative approach, they can release at least a minimum viable product or early version or basic flow first to the market, and based on the customers feedback they can enhance or they can adopt the new changes. So what I wanted to say, so in this video I'm going to explain you top 5 reasons why people are going for Agile. But before you understand why people are going for Agile projects, first you need to understand why people are going for incremental iterative approach, because so Agile comes under incremental and iterative approach. So I told you sequential approach, it has few problems with the sequential approach now. So that's why people started thinking about incremental and iterative approach. So first you need to understand iterative approach. Let me show you a simple diagram to explain you so what exactly mean by iterative approach. So this diagram clearly explains you what is iterative approach. Yeah. So here you see this is a simple example for sequential approach. And the second one, it is the example for iterative approach. So what is sequential approach? So once phase by phase, as I said, iterative approach. In iterative approach, you are not delivering entire project as one iteration. example, you plan example just for example, you plan 1 month as one iteration. In that iteration, you do planning, analysis, design. You do planning, analysis, design, build, testing. So first iteration. So you take few requirements, a basic flow kind of thing. For example, if you take a e-commerce site, so simple login, simple payment, and so then iteration two. So iteration means a time frame where we do planning to deployment, so that customer can start using it, customer can generate the revenue out of it, customer can share this to users, and user starts using it, and business team will start giving us the feedback. Based on their feedback, we adopt our set of requirements, our backlog, and we plan the next iteration. So what I wanted to tell, in iterative approach, so we deliver multiple iterations, and each iteration is a mini project kind of thing. And each, each new iteration is an incremental version to previous iteration. Each new iteration is an incremental version to previous iteration. So one more slide, one more this is best example for iterative approach. What exactly iterative approach? In iterative approach, you are not targeting to deliver entire project as a single iteration. So whenever customer comes with some idea or initial backlog or initial requirements, so get customer initial set of the requirements. Whenever you get the customer initial set of product backlog, and in the initial product backlog we ask customer priority, which is like ordering kind of thing, ranking. So which requirement is more important for customer. So and out of those requirements we select based on our capacity, based on our productivity. We first break down into iteration one or release one. And so once you get iteration one, so first we plan for iteration one. Okay, we decided we have 100 requirements in our project backlog, our product backlog in the requirement folder. So in iterative model, in the first iteration we are not targeting to deliver an entire project. So you select first iteration a certain set of requirements, or only few requirements you try to select as part of the first iteration. And so once you select a few requirements as part of the first iteration, then you do planning, analysis, design, build, test, deploy, and give it to customer, and which is 100% tested, that iteration software, and you give demo to customer, and customer starts using this software, and customer gives the feedback. This is a feedback loop. So like that, first iteration is complete. So meanwhile, based on the first iteration outcome or first iteration business feedback, we adopt some changes to the future requirements, and we plan second iteration. Second iteration is the incremental version to iteration one, and third iteration is the incremental version to iteration two. Like that, every iteration you do planning to deployment, and a useful working increment or working software is a demo will be given to customer, and based on the customer feedback, based on the customer suggested new requirements, and we plan the next iteration. This slide will definitely it's a you can see so what is iterative? What exactly iterative? So one project is divided into multiple iterations and series of iteration. The right statement is series of iteration, and every new iteration is an incremental version to previous iteration, and every iteration outcome must be a working software to customers. So this is called basic iterative approach. So Agile comes under incremental and iterative approach. When I say incremental and iterative approach, if you are dealing with a big project, you break down into subsystems, and each subsystem deliver iteratively. So this is called incremental and iterative approach, and I'll be explaining you. My next topic is Agile Manifesto, and in Agile Manifesto I'll be explaining you very clearly so how Agile principles are designed, and then we go to Scrum framework. But today I wanted to explain you very introduction, the very fundamental or basic thing approach. What are the fundamental differences between sequential approach and iterative approach? So you will be learning answers to two questions. One is, so what are the differences between sequential approach and iterative approach? Question number one. Question number two. So why Agile? Tell me top 5 reasons for Agile. Two topics. What are the practical differences between traditional approach and Agile approach? That is number one. And number two, so you will be understanding, so why Agile? Top 5 reasons. Tell me top 5 reasons why projects are being moved to Agile. Okay. So first of all, so top 5 reasons why we have moved to Agile projects. So I wanted to tell the practical differences between sequential approach and Agile approach. Differences between sequential and Agile approach. So as you see here, so difference one, I can say sequential approach projects are plan driven, whereas Agile project approaches are learning driven. So here the entire team is working to prove that the project charter given by your project manager long back when the project was in initial stages, the entire team tried to prove that that plan is correct. Whereas in Agile, so it works an empirical model, learning driven, where we try to learn from experiences. So Agile encourages fast fail culture. So what we built in last iteration, I mean, how we have been planning, how went well with the people or process. So we do frequent inspection on the previous iterations. Based on that, we plan the next iteration. So I can say in Agile is a learning driven. Every iteration we try to deliver best software to customers and get the customer feedback, retrospect ourselves based on that. So Agile is more learning driven. Iterative approaches is more learning driven based on what we delivered in the previous iteration experiences. We plan the next iteration. And so traditional approach, like infrequent client communication. One of the key parameter in Agile project is continuous client communication. One of the key parameter in Agile projects is continuous client communication. And traditional approaches, like so because I mean in Agile project, right from the planning of a new iteration, like informal reviews by the customer. Finally, we are giving demo to customer. Customers will give guidance, like what to do next. So we are allowing customer changes continuously. So I can say, so continuous client communication is very key parameter in Agile project. So then the third one is so Big Bang releases. So Big Bang releases. So here the iteration time frame is generally longer. Here you break down that iteration to a short time frame. So generally we plan in Agile project, every new iteration is just a couple of weeks kind of thing, maximum of 2 months or 3 months. Here, if you define entire requirements upfront, then they create a work breakdown structure kind of thing. They do planning kind of thing. Then only so the requirement, I mean, the project will move on to next phase. But here, so one important characteristic of Agile is, so in Agile, requirements evolve throughout the project based on the customer feedback, based on the business competition, based on our realization about the product. So requirements evolving throughout the project, that is important characteristic of Agile. And so and one more, the big difference between traditional and Agile. So here, so development in traditional happens like as per work breakdown structure, not as a team. Here you have a UI layer separate, you have a UI tasks are separate, and you have application tasks are separate, like so presentation layer, business layer, and all. But in Agile project, so we try to build or deliver end-to-end functionality in each iteration. Say the requirements are break down into horizontal slicing. When I say horizontal slicing, like UI layer, application layer, data layer. But coming to, so in Agile projects, we break down requirements into vertical slicing. We ensure each functionality which we built in every iteration should deliver a business value to customer. So it is not like UI in one iteration, developing application second iteration is a wrong approach. In Agile project, so we take some requirements and we ensure end-to-end functionality is built for that function that require those requirements, and we deliver a software which generate a business value to customer. And in traditional, so view programming as a construction, and in Agile projects, so we see view programming as a design. And here, so once your entire code is built, so the integration of layers occurs at the end of the build phase. Here, continuous code integration. So every new iteration, we try to build a new software and we try to deliver to the customer. Here, testing occurs, and that's why Agile, so non-Agile projects or traditional projects or plan-driven projects are high-risk projects. But here, so you are testing, like so in Agile project you are testing every iteration, you are testing every release. So continuous code, like will be tested in every iteration. So Agile projects are less risk because whenever so we are doing testing, it will be, there is high chance that it will discover in the early stages only. And here, so changing requirements in traditional project is very high cost, and changing requirements in Agile project is low cost, because so here, like already there are huge set of requirements in the backlog. So you are not developing entire product. For example, in non-Agile project, so if let's say design is complete and you want to do changes, then it is not that easy to do the changes. Yes, changes can be done, but so you have to do impact analysis on the change impact on the entire of each phase, because the phase is created 100%, but here, so it is low cost to change. So these are the practical differences between traditional projects and practical differences between traditional projects and Agile projects. And one more topic I wanted to cover in this video, that is, so tell me top 5 reasons why people are going to Agile projects. So tell me top 5 reasons why people are going to Agile projects. One is, so Agile is so popular because you can deliver quick software, at least first iteration outcome. So like traditional project, client has to wait till end of the project, till all the phases are complete to inspect the real software and give the feedback. But in agile project, so you need not to deliver everything in the first iteration. You plan some basic things, and if you create a minimally viable product or basic flow or happy path flow kind of thing, so I can say, so on time to the market. So why the people are going to agile projects? So early software, quick delivery of software, and on time to the market. That is one reason. And second reason is like so second reason, so it is like early return on investment. So whenever the software demo you have given and client can release it to the customer, and so and the entire product may not be ready, but whatever the features you have built, so customers can start giving some revenue back to I mean, so whenever you are gaining the customers or users, definitely your company is going to get the benefit out of it. So your company need not to wait till entire product is ready to get the returns. And one more important point, so flexible to changes. It is like generally we do agile rework because every new iteration is an incremental version to previous iteration. Every new iteration we try to deliver some new working software to customer. But but agile, so you are not you are not built entire design phase or entire planning phase or analysis phase. So agile is flexible to changes when compared to, so cost to perform rework is very less in agile. That is one reason. And one more reason, agile projects are low risk. As I told, agile projects are low risk. So when compared to other projects, agile projects are low risk kind of thing. So every iteration must create a business value per customer. Okay, so every new iteration is incremental version to previous iteration, and iteration must have the short time frame. And iteration must have the shorter time frame. So what I wanted to tell, so that as I said, so 2 points. I tried to explain you in this video three things to give the summary. One, so differences between sequential approach and iterative approach. Differences between sequential approach and iterative approach. Question number one. Question number two, differences between so differences between why we are, so that is one thing, and why we are going to agile projects. Top 5 reasons. Number one, on time to market, quick software, early software, working software. Number two, continuous and early customer feedback. Continuous and early customer feedback. Continuous and early customer feedback. Number three, early return on investment, ROI. And number four, so continuous customer feedback. So changes, flexible to requirement changes, agile methods. Flexible to requirement changes. Flexible to requirement changes. Agile methods are flexible to requirement changes, on time to market. So agile methods are low risk. So if you're working in a new project, or if you got any project where the requirements are not defined upfront, requirements are highly changing, and requirements are highly changing, and customer is expecting early software kind of thing. So customer is expecting early software kind of thing. It is better to deliver your projects in agile. So these are the top 5 reasons I can say why people are going to agile projects. And I have given a basic introduction in this video. In my next video, I'll be actually starting with the Agile Manifesto, so which is very important. So Agile Manifesto means, so set of Agile principles I will be explaining you. So if you attend interview also, the first interview question, they will be asking you, explain differences between sequential approach and iterative approach, traditional versus agile. Okay, waterfall versus agile kind of thing they ask you. Second question, Agile Manifesto. Third question, Scrum Framework. So follow all the 6 videos or 6 to 7 videos where you to gain knowledge on basics of agile methodology, introduction to Scrum Framework. Okay, so if you have any doubts, after going to this video, please write your answers. Please write your questions to raman@qualitythought.in. raman@qualitythought.in. So this is my mail ID. If you need any clarification on introduction to Agile, so I'll be giving you more detailed discussions in the coming session. So please wait. I'll be sharing you the other videos also very soon in our Learning Thoughts YouTube channel. Okay, so thanks for watching this video. If you like So, so if you have any questions, please send me ramana@qualitythought.in, and please subscribe if you want to become a Scrum Master, or if you want to gain more process kind of knowledge, especially real-time kind of knowledge in the process end. Thank you guys. Thanks for your time.
Thanks for watching. For more videos, subscribe our channel and click on bell icon.